Hello everyone, and today we'll take a look at the latest Earfree i5. Now this is the i5 and I have the older version, the i3 here, and I did a review before. In fact, after changing the tips, these guys were pretty good. So let's have a listen to the Earfree i5 and see what does it do. I mean, it's supposed to be an upgrade and I'm interested to know what kind of improvements can be made. Now it's still a single driver, but there are some, of course, software or some, most likely chip level improvement because they have like the lightning latency reduction behind rights, like say, game mode and stuff. And then of course now there's LDAC, there's also equal loudness contour. How does it all affect the sound? I think let's take a look and then we'll see how it works out. So without wasting time, let's do the unboxing. Now this version is a lot more sane. It's no longer a box inside a box, just the earphones themselves. The previous version actually gave a box. You can see this is the older one. It comes in a box, which is I thought that just give me this and it will work out. So this is the I'll say as i5 itself. Looks very similar to the i3. In fact, let me take a look. It just feels heavier, definitely. The material feels more premium. Feels like metal. This one feels, I'm not sure it is plastic or metal, the older one, but definitely it feels more premium and it's heavier. But you can see if, just looking at the case itself, they look very, very similar in design. Now, open it up and you can see the difference. It's also quite minimal. It looks really, really similar. I mean, this is the i3, this is the i5 once again. You can see it's quite similar. Then if you look at the bottom, there is now a button here. I believe this is to resync the whole device itself. Now, before I go into the earphones, let's look at what's inside the box still. So there are some tips and a charging cable. I think that's already about it. So there is nothing much more in the box. So that is really all the items. This is the i5 and then with a cable and then with some tips themselves. So let's have a closer look at the earphones. So let's take a closer look at the earphones themselves. So you can see this is how it looks like. It looks very similar to the old one, really. Really similar. I'm not too sure whether is there even any difference at all. It does have power, there is a light there. Now let's take a look at the old one. I mean, let's compare the old and the new one. Now this is definitely heavier. This is the new one with the tip. So let's pair this up and have an initial listen to how does the new i5 sounds. So pairing was very straightforward. I just have to on my Bluetooth and open the cap and I can pair it very easily. So no issues with pairing. So let's try the sound out. So I've listened to the i5 utilizing two songs, The Wish for Mercury and Heartbeat. And I would say as overall, I think the sound signature is very nice this time. It's full-bodied. It has good amount of soundstage. The size of the music is actually quite big. The bass is actually really nice and tight. And the only thing about the sound itself, there is this slight metallic sound in the mids itself. Other than that, I don't really find any issues in the sound itself. It is a pleasant sound. Details are sufficiently there and good. The whole dynamics are nice. I mean, it's not the most dynamic nor most quiet earphone, but considering the price, I think this is acceptable. And overall, I think the sound signature is actually pretty good. The thing is that, of course, this is just listening to the earphones alone. And of course, this time the ceiling is so much better than the previous i3. I have no issues having all the body of the sound. But let's compare it with the old i3 and of course using my custom tips, because without the tips, this guy don't sound very good. So I've compared both the i5 and the i3, and I would tell you straight away, if you are owning the old i3, go and upgrade now, because the i5 is miles better. I mean, I don't have the other earphones that I tried quite recently. I think by Soundpears. I don't have it here now. But I'll just tell you that the i5 is way better than the i3. It is more natural sounding. The body is more filled. The bass is tighter. The bass is more. The mids are a lot cleaner. And the metallic sound that I was saying in the i5, the i3 had a lot more of it. As I said, the i5 is just slightly there, but that is the only downside of the entire sound itself. But the i3, once you compare side by side, is so much more of this metallic sound itself, which makes it very unnatural sounding. But the i5 is just perfect. I mean, not because of the vocals and some of the instruments there where I can easily notice the difference. I probably can't even pick up that, that difference in the mids level. Overall, I do think that the i5 is just superior, way superior than the i3 itself. So great, I really like this earphone now. I mean, this is so far one of the better ones. I remember the Soundpears version that I tried recently had a much more pronounced treble. This one just have a lot more body, a lot of weight, and a lot more balance. So of course, I don't have that earphone now to directly compare. But you know what? I have the older one. Let me take a look. So I have the Soundpears Air Pro here. Let me compare between them and see which is actually better. So between the Earfree i5 and the Air Pro, there are some significant difference. Firstly, I think the amount of air in the i5 is more. Soundstage is also slightly larger, and overall clarity is also slightly better. However, the Air Pro has that body, that weight to the sound that makes things a lot more smoother. And the difference in clarity, or should I say the loss in clarity for that particular sound, is actually quite minimal. So if you're going for weighty sound, the Air Pro is actually better. If you're going for lighter, bigger sound, I would say as the i5 is superior. Now, from the technical standpoint, I think the i5 is slightly better. It's just a clearer rendition. And overall, I think in terms of, impact from bass, then in terms of the mids vocal clarity, the treble instrument, I think the i5 does it better. The only advantage of the Air Pro really is that, it doesn't have that mids slightly metallic sound. It's very smooth on the Air Pro, while the i5 has that sound itself. Most likely it's because I'm guessing is the elevated treble to have that clarity, and also to give all the instruments that very clean impact. Well, from the technical standpoint, I think the i5 is better. It is more responsive. Everything is just cleaner, better, clearer. So, the Air Pro is still very enjoyable, but just on a different type of sound signature. So my initial summary for this Earfree i5 from Rosetechnic, I think the sound itself is very nice. Clean, clear, big sound, and overall, very punchy bass. Overall, very good clarity. I will prefer if it has slightly more body. Just a slight more body. I will also prefer if that, slight metallic sound, I'm guessing because of the treble, goes away. But I'm not sure whether I can change the tip to just, elevate some of those issues. And that, I think this is a very decent sounding IEM. And from the technical sense, this is definitely superior to the Air Pro and also superior to the older Earfree i3. So if you're in the market for a wireless earbuds, do consider them, at least from the sound perspective. So for the very last part, I will try out the software, test out its noise reduction and also latency when it comes to watching videos. So you can see here, you can connect to the application quite easily. This is the Earfree i5. As you can see here, you can see how much power there is left, and then you can actually select the noise cancelling here. Noise cancelling with noise normal transparency. You can also select the EQ that you want. On default it seems to be on pop. I don't think there is a none. And then you can select the lossless audio protocol, which is LDAC. And then you can select things like game mode, dual device connectivity, and what's not. This is quite nice, and you can also update the firmware through the application itself. And I think it's already on the current firmware, so nothing to do there. And that, I think this looks quite normal, nothing too special here. So let's try out the latency. So based on my testing, at least for the purpose of videos, I don't play game by the way, I do feel that there's no latency for the purpose of watching video itself. I have seen the person's speech, his face, his sound, compare it, there don't seem to be any significant lag. So at least from the latency standpoint, on its default mode, it should be perfectly fine. Now this earphone has a game mode. So as you can see here, there's actually a thing called game mode, which reduces latency even further. And because I don't play games, I cannot really test it out. But at least on its default mode, it is good enough for the purpose of watching videos, which I think is great. And that's about it. This is the first look of the Rosetechnic Earfree i5. And this is pretty much quite good. I say that the sound overall is an improvement over the i3, and I think that, in usability, feeling of the device itself, everything was pretty great. The only downside to everything was that slightly metallic sound in the mids, but you get a lot more better technicality and response, and overall a better sound and better bass. Everything is just better than the i3 itself, so I don't think it's a loss at all. And the ceiling is a lot better with these current tips, and I don't need to go and change or go and try out different tips to just get the sound I want. Now, I want to thank Rosetechnic for providing me this copy here. They actually, reached out to me to let me try it out, and I can bring you this particular first look here. And do visit them if you're interested in these earphones. And I will just say that if you own the old i3 and you like the sound, this is a major improvement. Try to get the i5 because it is a lot better. And I think this is actually a relatively affordable price, less than 100 Sing dollars, and you get a wireless system that actually sounds pretty good, has very low latency, and there's even a game mode that will reduce latency even further for just playing games. And overall, I do like the packaging. Now this time it's slightly nicer, the case itself, and really there is no complaints for me. So this is actually the first look of the Earfree i5 from Rosetechnic, and I'll see you guys again in next time. Bye bye.